Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to the Irish NFL Show in association with QuinnBet, and we are part of the Believe Network. Also, I'm delighted to be joined by former NFL quarterback Kyle Lauletta, drafted by the New York Giants in round 4 of 2018. Also spent some time with the Eagles, the Falcons, the Jaguars, local team here, and the Cleveland Browns. Kyle, welcome. Glad you could join us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ciaran.
Absolutely. So it's a little chat. We'll talk about your career in the pros in a little bit, but I want to get a feel of how it started, your love of football, where it came from. I'm assuming you played Pop Warner or Pee Wee football as a kid, and then it progressed into middle school, into high school. Talk to us about what brought your love of the game around.
Absolutely. I think it was really my older brother. Me and him were 2 years apart growing up, and it wasn't always just football, but any sport we loved to play. So we were always in the side yard, and I think we just gravitated to football the most. And, as a younger brother, just looking up to your older brother, following him around, I credit him a lot because he was always drawn in by the game of football. Credit to my father, and my grandfather as well, who was a longtime coach. And then my dad played quarterback, and my older brother ended up playing quarterback. So it was always fun just growing up. Started playing flag football with my brother on the same team. And then when you move up to tackle, I wasn't always a quarterback, but I transitioned to quarterback eventually. I think my love of the game just continued to grow year after year. A lot of good memories, later on in my career, but I always tell, people and kids that I work with now is that it wasn't always the most fun, and you kind of have to develop that grit and toughness, and things aren't going to go your way. But if you stick with it long enough and you believe in yourself, I think you're going to, find ways to break out and have fun and enjoy the game and all that it has to offer. So, definitely, could come from a football family and, had a great Pop Warner league and a great area, growing up with so many other kids like me who wanted to, grow up and play football.
Right. Grew up in Exton, Pennsylvania. Would I be correct in saying it's a suburb of Philly? Would you be an Eagles fan?
Absolutely.
Growing up, or big Eagles fan? Okay.
No doubt. Everybody, bleeds green. I think, we're I think about 45 minutes or so from Philadelphia west of the city. And just a great area for football. Me and you talked about how different it is, wherever you go in the United States, what brand of football and what style. But I think Pennsylvania did it the right way, and they, from a young age, they teach it the right way. You develop the fundamentals, and you kind of learn how to play the traditional style of football, being under center, taking a snap. And then as you get to high school, it's a lot of under center also, and run first, or at least in my district, an area, of the suburbs. But I know about other suburbs were similar.
Were you was Randall Cunningham still playing when you were around? Mike Golick, Reggie White, is that? Yeah. Hell of a team back then.
Not quite. I mean, my growing up, it was Donovan McNabb and Brian Dawkins, Michael Trotter and Deuce Staley, who ended up actually being a coach that I played for, which was pretty cool. And guys like that. Brian Westbrook, incredible running back. Got to watch Terrell Owens suit up in an Eagles uniform. A lot of great Eagles players back in the day. It was easy to root for the team. They hadn't quite won the Super Bowls that they had in the last, recent history, but they were always a strong contender in the NFC East and the fun team to root for.
Sure. The East was pretty strong back in those days. You're probably talking like the early 2000s, real competitive. The Giants with Jeremy Shockey. That was a real competitive division back then. You mentioned earlier your father Joe played quarterback at Navy. I'm assuming there was a huge influence on you when you were a kid, and just looked up to him and what he did, how he carried himself. And I'm sure you use a lot of that into your style of play. from high school onwards?
Oh, of course. I mean, my dad was always my biggest supporter, and he always tried to teach me and instill, hard work and all the right values. I think as a kid, you don't quite appreciate it until you grow up and you realize, how how much he just wanted you to be great and you to reach your fullest potential. That's what any parent wants for their kid. As a father myself, I now understand that as well. But we always looked up to him, and there's no doubt if he wasn't who he was, and not only just having the TV on and just analyzing and looking at the game that the way that he did, but and then the countless lessons of kind of getting me ahead of the game, whereas other parents, they never played college quarterback, they don't understand the coverage, but we always looked at football a little bit more in depth, even at a younger age. And I think that's one of the huge reasons why I was able to get to where I was, because I wasn't always physically gifted like others. So yeah, I credit him in a huge way. And, and from his father as well. He developed that love from his father. So I don't have a son right now, but maybe my daughter can someday love the game like I did in some way, shape, or form. But who knows?
Well, the way Flag is going right now, I mean, she's
Yeah.
got a great opportunity to. It was just on the NFL Network and on ESPN the weekend before last, so it's a huge showcase on the Olympics now too. So that's a big opportunity for her.
It is. It's grown. The women's game has grown a lot, especially in Florida.
Oh yeah,
recently, yeah.
The getting on from high school, talk to us about how the process is, because some of our listeners they will see the glitz and glamour of college life, but they don't really know the nuts and bolts behind how you go about getting recruited by a college, the process, traveling to campuses, getting the tours, talking to the coaches, etc. Talk to us about what brought you to Richmond, Virginia, the Richmond Spiders. Talk to us about that whole process and how you got around to getting there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little intimidating as a kid. I think they put so much. Well, I should say this: if you're not a blue chip recruit, I only started 2 years in high school. A lot of kids nowadays are getting offers by the time they're freshmen, sophomores in high school. So I mean, during the recruiting process, I think a lot of the focus is on the measurables. So it's tough, if you're not head and shoulders above people. I think it's not the easiest process. So, for me, I found myself going to a lot of camps, but trying to figure out, hey, who do I have a realistic shot with? If Michigan State, Ole Miss, all these big schools are looking after me, is it really worth my time? Or are they just sugarcoating and not really telling me where I stand? So it at least back then, that's how, you couldn't really get a great feel for if they were really interested or if they were, inflating how they felt about you. So it was tough, but I think I ended up going to Richmond, just falling in love with the campus. They have a great business school that I was able to get a degree from, and a leadership school as well that I thought were both, great things for me to partake in aside from the football. So when you put the full package together, I think it was, with the opportunities that I had, mind you, it was only, I think, 4 scholarship offers. So of those, I thought Richmond was clearly the best choice, and couldn't have been, happier about where I ended up. I just think, kind of what we were able to accomplish in the level of football that you can play there kind of speaks for itself, and how, even at a smaller level, they still find continuously year after year, they're going to find guys that make it to the NFL. So that was all on my mind as best as I could as a 18-year-old kid or whatever I was coming out of high school. So it's definitely tough. But so much has changed, as you know.
Oh yeah,
a lot of that is irrelevant now.
So that was part of the old A10, am I right? With you had William and Mary in there. You had Delaware.
Actually, the CAA, the Colonial Athletic Association, and they have since moved into the Patriot League. That's Richmond has in the last couple of years. But yeah, great conference. James Madison was in the conference.
Delaware.
Delaware.
Yeah.
and
I mean,
a lot of strong schools.
500. Did I see 546 passing yards against Sam Houston State? That's a hell of a number right there.
That
That is
was
a hell of a number.
that was the first game. What was interesting was our game got moved to Baylor's stadium because of I believe it was a hurricane. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Kind of
I think it was week 1 in 2017.
correct. Yeah, so just coming off a hurricane down there, so they had to move it to Baylor, which was a great venue. I think Matt Rule had just gotten there. That was going to be his first season there, but yeah, it was a all offense, absolutely no defense. If you like old school football, that was not the game to go to. We could not. Nobody could stop anyone. I think one pass, just went outstretched the tip of the defender's hands, and our receiver caught it one-handed down the sideline, like tiptoed down the sideline 60. It was like one of those games where, um, both teams were lighting it up, and who was going to make the most mistakes. And I ended up actually throwing an interception costly. It was kind of miscommunication that cost us, but it was one of those games. Whoever had the ball last, was probably going to win it, or it was close. But
And talking about college, I mean, NIL wasn't around in your day. I mean, what's your opinion on it? Where it is now, the impact it's had on college football, the good and the bad, the muddying of the waters, the kind of turning of people's heads with the money going on. Where do you stand on the whole NIL deal?
yeah, well, I think going back to my point about University of Richmond, I think at the time, there's no NIL. You're not contemplating taking large sums of money, and I think from that alone, off the start, I think we kind of have the wrong idea of how to monetize, how to brand, how to make money off of your name. It's just a different ball game. I mean, it's totally uncharted territory, and I think the rules need to be changed. I think they need to get a hold of it. Not to say that kids can't earn money off of their name, image, and likeness. I think that's a good thing, but we need a lot of changes, and I just think it's too hard for a lot of kids. And I put myself in their shoes, and I think if you're not a clear cut, big time guy, I think it's tough to focus on school and making money off of your name at the same time. I think that when you're that young, I think having school and football to focus on is enough. So it's tough, but we'll see how it pans out. But I'm glad these kids do get to get what they deserve in a certain sense. They should not be responsible for making a large institution big sums of money when it's their play and their hard work that's gotten in there, and that's putting on the product, putting on the show. So there's two sides of it, and there's no good way to answer, but hopefully it continues to improve in a way that can help the kids.
Let's transition into you're leaving Richmond. You have the Senior Bowl early 2018 into the combine. You've loved the NFL your entire life. This has been your dream. What's your state of mind early 2018 when you've got, you're surrounded by NFL head coaches? The Senior Bowl game, I believe Baker Mayfield was on the field. Josh Allen was there too. So, you're surrounded by some early superstars. I'm sure there's a lot of talk about, opportunities. What's your frame of mind then as a young guy?
I think you kind of train your whole life for moments like that. I mean, you dream of times and moments like that. So I think, when you're so prepared and you've been able to prove people wrong and, accomplish what you have your whole career, I think it develops a sort of confidence. And I just remember being, pretty confident for a small school kid in those moments. And I think it served me well. I think I was focused on the X's and O's of it. Bill O'Brien was my head coach of my Senior Bowl team, and I had grown up watching him and Tom Brady dice people up and do it at a high level in the pass game. So I was excited. I was locked in. I was, focused, I think, and you just try to take advantage. And I think I had some good throws that kind of got me into a groove, and like, one of the first play action passes was to DJ Chark, and his man coverage. He made a great release off the line. He had a couple, a yard on the guy, and still took a good throw. But when you get handed times like that, I think you train your whole life, and you just hope that you're confident enough to make the play. And that was a day where, our team was on the same page, and I think proved that a lot of times timing and accuracy wins, and understanding coverage, like I said with Brady and Bill O'Brien for so many years. So it was fun. It was a fun moment, and something that definitely helped me make it to the next level.
Yeah, we've definitely seen, as the years have gone on, and the reach of the NFL Network and their impact. We've seen the importance. It's almost shifted from the importance of the Senior Bowl game and individual performances there to, almost more important now than the combine. You're seeing less and less guys working out of the combine and kind of focusing on the Senior Bowl and then the pro days. So I mean, it's definitely it's a great opportunity for players to put the flag and say, this is my ability, this is what I can do. I can do this for you in the pros.
Yeah, I think the combine, to your point, I think it's not that important. I think football is a game that's more than just measurables. Take Indiana winning the national championship, for example. It's a great recent example of football is more than numbers on combine stats. And then how many stars at a high school you have. It takes heart, it takes a team that works together, it takes a lot of intangible qualities that we can't put on a piece of paper. So, and then football will continue to be a game like that. So that's why it's the greatest game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then you get a generational coach like Signetti who can get even some guys from James Madison and just mold them all together and turn a nothing. Well, I won't say nothing, but
Fun to watch.
A kind of a wasteland of a football program, more of a basketball school, into a national champion, which is pretty crazy.
It was a great story.
Yeah, it was a great story. So we get to the draft. You're picked in the 4th round. A dream come true for a kid who was throwing the ball since he could walk almost. Where's your head at? What's your ambition? Do you care where you're drafted? Do you just want to get on a team? How quick do you want to show coaches what you can do?
Oh, right away. You're, all the emotions going through your head. I think it doesn't matter in that moment where you're drafted. Certainly not for me. Certainly not a 4th round guy. Certainly not a small school guy. Who's had to work his way there his whole life. So I just think you try to continue that mindset as best you can. I think the stakes, are higher than ever. And I think that's, the ultimate challenge is to treat it like you've always treated it. Easier said than done. And I think as the competition and the guys around you, you start surrounding yourself with guys you've grown up watching play. I mean, it's a pretty surreal experience, but you just have to treat it like it was college, like it was pro, or like it was high school, like it was Pop Warner. I mean, it's no different. And I think, I try to do all that the best I could. And I mean, I think the training camp and OTA session, I mean, as a young guy, you're just trying to attack it, every day as best you can, and just soak it all up. It's a lot. You got to learn a whole new offense it's much more intricate, that has way more detail than something you've looked at prior. Even though you think you knew everything prior, I mean, you have no idea, the kind of mental aptitude that it takes to play the quarterback position in the NFL. So, you just try to follow the good teammates. You try to follow the veterans that do it the right way, and work as hard as you can to gain the respect of your teammates. I mean, that's all you can do as a young guy.
Right. So then you go from the draft to rookie camp and straight into training camp in July. You're in Jersey. Am I right in saying Pat Shermer was the first head coach you had?
Yes.
Pat Shermer, and you're in a team with Saquon. You got Eli at the tail of his career. You got OBJ. That I think that was the last year of his Giants career. So now you're in the big time. Now you're surrounded by the big guys, the big names that you see on TV. What's your mentality? Are you looking around and are you just picking other people's brains? Are you picking players' brains? Are you picking coaches' brains? Are you trying to get that shine and kind of, catch the eye of a coach? What are you focusing on?
I mean, just you're trying to focus on everything, but like you said, it's too much as a young guy. You just try to follow veterans that do it the right way, and I had a great one in Eli Manning to look after. So you just try to mimic his habits and try to learn from him. You try to watch film, always be by his side, ask as many questions as you can. But like I said, you've done it your whole career, so you don't treat it differently. You follow your own instincts and your own process, and then you try to take a little bit from here, take a little bit there, and try to perfect it and do the best you can. But training camp and all that, it's as a quarterback, it's more of a mental challenge than anything. The position in general. So I never struggled with with any of the physical, whether it was lifting, running, any of that. It's all a mental challenge every day, and the people who are great, they do that part at a very high level.
And what was Eli like back then? Because he was kind of at the tail of his career. He's not the goofy guy you see on the commercials.
Oh, he was. Yeah.
Oh, he was? Okay.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, that's
Yeah.
good to know. I thought he only turned into that when he retired.
Well, I will say the part that he publicized was quiet until he retired. But yeah, in the locker room, I mean, he was one of the biggest pranksters, jokesters, always wanting to laugh and have a good time. So I think you need that to some extent as a leader. You got to show that side of you every now and then. Make sure the guys know that at the end of the day, it is just a game. We're all in it, working our hardest, but it's a game, and you got to have that love and passion just for each other, and making memories and building relationships. So I think he did that, in a good way, and I think everybody enjoyed being around him.
And I know a lot of people lately have been watching the quarterback show on Netflix, and it kind of it glamorizes the life of a quarterback. Obviously, it's only showing the good parts, and you see Baker's kind of handpicked all the scenes, but you see some of the injuries and some of the bruising and the beatings that he's taking. Quarterback's always been signified as the glamour position, the best spot you can possibly play in football. But when you see up close, I'm sure you saw it with a lot of players just struggling to get out of bed the next day, just beat up from getting pounded by 320-pound nose tackles, or DNs that run a 4.2 40. It's wild when I try to tell people that playing quarterback is glamorous, but what they don't show you, unless it's a Netflix documentary, is the absolute beating you take, and that by 5 o'clock or by 9 o'clock on a Sunday evening, you're in a bad shape.
Well, I think yes, but I still feel for the running backs, fullbacks, tight ends, even the defensive ends. I mean, some of these linemen. I mean, those are the real brute positions, safeties. I mean, you name it. Quarterback, I think, is protected nowadays, but like every now and then you get your bell rung. Absolutely. And I think your job as a quarterback is to show those times where you do get hit that you are tough. I mean, that every quarterback is taught that at a young age. Stand in there, deliver the ball with confidence, even if it means getting hit after. And I think you see, guys every now and then that pop up that just come off as these warrior guys that are just taking shots and standing in there late, or even guys, running downfield, I think. But there's also an element to protecting yourself, preserving yourself. And with as much money as these guys are making, I think, and it's different when you have guaranteed money versus, a young guy who's trying to make it. I think that there's so much going on there, but I think there's an element to preserving. If you believe in yourself and you're going to have a long career, you better preserve your career and not be hurt all the time. Nobody wants to make money from the sideline or get, people want to be available. And I think ultimately people do get judged by how available they were during their career. It's not always, people can't always control it, but sometimes when you're running downfield, I would tell Jackson Dart, you don't need to take those shots. I know you're trying to earn the respect of your teammates, but it's unnecessary. It's kind of counterintuitive. If you're the guy and you're going to be the guy, take care of yourself. Your just going to need you at some point. And it's not,
I mean, now he's getting coached up by Mahomes' old coach Matt Nagy. So hopefully he's giving him some tips on when to slide and when to go out of bounds. Um, the just a couple of questions just to finish this conversation. You retired from the quarterback. You played a little bit in the USFL. For a lot of people listening, or probably for pretty much everybody, they don't have the concept of what happens when the game is over and you've given it your all. You've had every opportunity and you've maxed it out. Time has come to hang up the cleats. What's the transition been to civilian life like?
Well, it's kind of tough. I mean, I think for me, I had young kids that I wanted to focus on, and every situation's different, and everybody retires when they do for a different reason. Not to say that they could have kept going after it or kept chasing. I think the other thing that's important is for guys to just, do something that they love. And I found that early on. You miss football, you miss the camaraderie, you miss the adrenaline rush, I guess you could say, or even just the feeling of doing something so familiar to yourself. So I think for me, it was key to get back into football. But for everybody, that could be something different. And I think just doing something you really love and feel passionate about, and can, and anytime you can mentor kids or kind of pass on your knowledge to others, I think that's, a great thing you can do for younger kids, put them in a better position than they would have been. So that's kind of what's, been really fun and helpful for me, is to just get back into the game in that form. So, but it's tough, I think people don't talk about that enough, is when guys get done playing, what that feels like. And you can't really, prepare for how that feels, at least at first, but, it affects everyone differently. And but yeah.
Most impactful coach or mentor you had, college or pros? Anyone that stands out?
Um, I would say, man, so many. That's such a hard question. I would say a guy that sticks out is Charlie Fisher, um, college coach of mine. The first year that I started, my redshirt sophomore year, I think he taught me football the right way. Just like I mentioned earlier, when I learned football growing up, I think he taught it. He taught it to me from the ground up. I learned the run game and how to ID a mic and how to play in like the New England Patriots type style offense. So I think I played in so many different offenses, but I think that one, being the first year that I played, was so influential and kind of perfectly placed at the beginning of my career. I think it, helped me understand the game of football quicker than most. I think, the spread is a little different in all these ones. Like I said, I think, it's one thing to live by some of those concepts, but I think understanding it from the traditional sense helps all quarterbacks kind of understand and put the pieces together, because it is a sport that has a lot of moving parts, and I don't think the average fan quite realizes, the coverages and the cat and mouse game that really goes into it.
Right. Toughest opponent you faced?
Toughest opponent. I mean, I'd say North Dakota State in college. I mean, from a matchup standpoint, I mean, man, they just had a
Big country boys.
big country boys, man. But their team, they played as a team.
Yeah.
And that crowd and that stadium was just unbelievable. Such a great home field advantage, but great tradition, great program. They've always been excellent. Tons of NFL players.
Yep, absolutely, especially lately, yeah. Favorite memory or player from your pro career? Favorite stadium, favorite memory?
Um, Favorite, I would say, that's a great question. Hmm. You said pro or college, or we're just saying pro career?
Pro or college. Yeah, pro could be college
Well,
too.
pro's fine. I mean, I think pro's good. I think, thinking about Saquon Barkley, one that sticks out. I don't even know why this one just jumped into my head, but I remember the first touch he had of the first preseason game. He took it. It wasn't for a touchdown. I think he got pushed out like the 20-yard line, but the explosiveness, it was like a toss play, and then you just had, it was a toss to the field. Show us what you can do, Saquon, and juked some guy out so bad, ran down the sideline, and we were just like, oh man, this guy's going to be great. That's one that, being that I got drafted with him and spent some good time with him. I mean, that was cool to see. Just how big, strong, and fast and agile. It looked like Barry Sanders but plus 20 some pounds or 30 pounds running down the side. I couldn't believe it.
Yep, and he's still doing it. What? 8 years later. Kyle, it's been a great chat. Let's finish up with talking to us about your work with Quarterback HQ, your program for developing quarterbacks in the Jacksonville area. Talk to us about what you're doing right now with that.
Yeah, I've been doing it for about a year now, just trying to make myself available to any quarterback, that wants to get better from as young as they want to train until high school. I'm focused there. I just think that's the biggest way that I can help is kind of resonate with kids who might be in a similar position to me. I was never I didn't start when I first tried out, so I think I can, offer some encouragement and some advice to these kids that can really actually set them apart. And I think a lot of it's focused on the mental part of the game. Like we said, a lot of training is geared around just throwing and mechanics. But I also think there's no harm in teaching a kid, the complexity of the quarterback position as early as you can, and getting them on board to learning it, because that's at the end of the day, that's what makes a good person great, or maybe somebody who never would have had a chance. They could have a great high school career is if they just learn the game and take pride in that. So I'm trying to help kids realize that, and also just make them fall in love with the game. I think that's the most fun thing for me is not only doing the one-on-one sessions, but having the group sessions to just watch the kids get together and compete and have fun and teach them football in the right way and how to appreciate working with each other and how to help each other get better. Because that's of all the best memories I have, some of the best ones are just training with the guys in high school, college, and pros. Like I'll never forget just the training sessions with all the guys, out on the fields. And so it's something fun, and it's something that I think, to be great at football, if you really want to make it, you have to love it, and it's not for everybody, but those who love football tend to do well. So
yeah. It's like I tell my son, you got to love the grind, especially in Florida when it's 100 degrees outside and you're doing up downs and bear crawls. You got to love everything about it, because it can be tough with all that equipment on you too. So
no doubt. And you don't have to love it right away either. I didn't love it right away either, and I tell kids that it's okay. I tell parents that your kid doesn't love football, don't force it on them. I never loved it as a young kid, but I just grew to love it so much and appreciated it. So I hope others can enjoy it like I can, and we continue to grow the game, especially at the girls level too.
Yep. And it sounds like you still love the game. Kyle, thank you for your time today. It's been a great chat. Just a kind of a walk down memory lane. Thank you for giving us some insights into your early years, your career, and how it got you to the NFL. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ciaran. Yeah, that was fun.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.